It's strange how quickly silence can become sinister. You think you know the woods, especially when it's the same trail you've jogged 100 times before. But when the sun sinks low and shadows stretch like reaching fingers, the familiar turns wrong. That's what happened to me. And I've never jogged alone again. It started on a Tuesday evening, just after 7 p.m. I remember because the air had that cool bite of fall, and the sun was bleeding red across the sky. I was already pushing it. My earbuds were in, music low, pace steady. I liked that trail because it looped behind the quiet part of town, just past the reservoir and through the woods where the trees arched overhead like a living tunnel. I'd always felt safe there. Until that day, about 15 minutes in, as I crossed the wooden footbridge over Maple Creek, I felt it off, like the air thickened suddenly. The smell changed, too, from moss and pine to something metallic. Sharp, my skin prickled. I chalked it up to my imagination and kept running. Then I noticed the silence. No wind, no birds, no rustle critters in the underbrush. Just the crunch of my feet on gravel and my shallow breathing. I paused my music. Listen. Nothing. Then a whisper. It was faint. So faint I wasn't even sure I heard it. A soft hiss, like words carried on a dying breeze. I spun around. The wood stood still. Nothing moved. I told myself it was just the wind, turned the music back on, and picked up the pace. But the whisper came again, clearer this time, and unmistakably a voice. Stop. I yanked the earbuds out. My heart banged in my chest. I scanned the trees. Who's there? I called. Tried to sound tough. My voice cracked. No answer. I turned around and bolted back toward the main trail, breath quickening, legs pumping, but the sound of footsteps, not mine, fell into rhythm behind me. Soft at first, but unmistakable. Someone was matching my pace. I dare not look back. Every horror story says the same thing. Don't look back. But I did, and no one was there. Just trees. Still dark, watching. I slowed, now gasping for air. The sound had stopped. My footsteps echoed alone again. But as I reached a fork near the abandoned ranger station, a dilapidated wooden shack no one used anymore, I saw it, a figure, standing about 30 feet ahead, half shrouded in the shadows between trees, not moving, watching. It looked like a man, tall and lean, wearing a hood. But the way he stood, unnatural, like his joints bent wrong, like he was propped up like a mannequin. I froze. Then he tilted his head. Not turned, tilted. A sharp, jerky movement, like his neck snapped sideways at a wrong angle. That broke me. I turned and sprinted back the way I came, lungs burning, legs on fire, every instinct screaming. I didn't stop until I reached the park entrance, lit dimly by flickering street lamps. There were people there. A couple walking a dog. A kid on a bike. Safety. I collapsed onto a bench, clutching my side, looking back at the dark trail. There was no sign of the man. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe I imagined him. Maybe it was a weird tree, and the stress made it look like a person. Maybe I was just overtired. That's what I told myself. But then the dream started. That night, I woke up gasping, soaked in sweat. In the dream, I was running again. Same trail, same shadows. But this time, something chased me. I never saw it, just heard it, whispering. Closer, closer, right behind me. Every night it got worse. The whispers more insistent. Come back. You saw me. You're mine now. By the fifth night, I stopped sleeping altogether. Bags formed under my eyes. My co-workers noticed. I told them I was dealing with anxiety. They laughed it off. But the next day, I found something that changed everything. It was raining when I passed by the ranger station again. I've been avoiding that trail, but something pulled me there. Curiosity, maybe, or something else. The shack looked the same. Abandoned, boarded up, half collapsed on one side. But on the door, scratched deep into the wood, were words I hadn't seen before. Don't run. He follows. I stared at it for what felt like hours. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate. I turned. Nothing. Just trees. Just silence. I left that trail and never jogged there again. But last night, nearly a week later, I heard something outside my apartment window. A soft, rhythmic thump, like footsteps on gravel, and then a whisper, so close it could have been inside the room. Don't stop running. I didn't jog that morning, or the next. I couldn't. I stayed indoors, blinds shut, lights on even during the day. That night, I double-checked the locks 3 times, pushed a chair beneath the doorknob like I was 10 years old again, terrified of monsters in the closet. But this wasn't a child's imagination. I'd seen him, and now I was certain he'd follow me home. It started small. The scraping sound outside my window. That could have been a raccoon, I told myself. A branch against the siding. Something natural, normal. But then came the gravel. There's a path right behind my apartment. Nothing more than a service walkway lined with gravel stones. I knew the sound of someone walking on it. The soft crunch, crunch of measured footsteps. At 2:14 a.m., I heard them again. Not fast, not running, just strolling, confident, purposeful. I lay frozen in bed, blanket clutched to my chin like it could somehow protect me. The steps stopped right below my bedroom window. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then something tapped the glass. Once, twice, tap, tap. I waited. A third tap, slower this time. I squeezed my eyes shut, heart hammering so hard I felt in my throat. I didn't look. I couldn't. I wanted to believe it was still just a dream, that maybe I had finally cracked under the pressure of insomnia and stress. By morning, the sun crept in like a gentle reassurance. I mustered the courage to go outside and check the path. There were footprints, clear as day, long, narrow, spaced apart like someone had been pacing. No rain the night before, just soft, moist gravel from the morning dew, perfect for catching impressions. They ended right beneath my bedroom window. I told myself enough was enough. I needed answers. I drove to the local library, not for a book, but because they kept old newspaper archives. Maybe someone had seen something out in those woods. Maybe the ranger's shack, the message, don't run. He follows. Maybe it was connected to something real, something with a history. I didn't know what I was looking for. I just typed in keywords. Woods near Maple Creek. Jogging trails disappearances. Ranger station deaths. That's when I found it. October 1998. Local ranger disappears without a trace. The article was short, almost dismissive. A 32-year-old park ranger named Dennis Turlow reportedly vanished while on patrol. His last known radio communication mentioned something strange in the woods. No body was found. His vehicle was parked right outside the station. Authorities chalked it up to a possible accident or animal attack. But the forest was searched extensively. No blood, no torn clothing, nothing. He was just gone. But what really sent chills through me was the last quote in the article. It was from a hiker who'd spoken to the ranger days before he vanished. I remember him saying something weird. The man recalled. He said the woods felt like they were watching. That at night, something walked alongside him, just out of sight. I clicked to the next page. Another article, dated a year later. A woman jogger disappeared on the same trail. Again, no body. Just her phone found at the footbridge. Her last text? Someone's following me. Tall guy. Not moving right. My blood went cold. This wasn't just me. I wasn't crazy. Others had felt it, seen him, and some never came back. I rushed home, paranoid now that I was being watched even in broad daylight. I locked the door behind me and turned on every light in the apartment. That night, I didn't sleep. Not a minute. I sat on the couch, phone in one hand, flashlight in the other. Then, at 2:14 a.m. again, right on the dot, the footsteps returned. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I rose, slowly, walking to window, heart rattling in my chest. This time, I looked, and I saw him. He stood at the edge of the trees beyond the path. Still, silhouetted in the moonlight. Same as before, tall, oddly jointed, head tilted sharply to the side. But something was different now. He was smiling, not a grin, not a smirk. A wide, open-mouthed smile that looked wrong. Too big for a human face. His teeth were too many. Not sharp, but too perfect. Like mannequin teeth. Fake. Frozen. I blinked, and he was gone. Not turned and walked away. Gone. I stepped back from the window. Heart skipping. I started to wonder, was he ever really there? Or was this some deep-rooted hallucination triggered by fear? But then my phone buzzed. A text message. From an unknown number. It read, "You looked. Now I can come inside." I dropped the phone. My breathing stopped. In the silence, I heard the doorknob rattle. Only once. A test. Then came a knock. 3 slow knocks. I didn't answer. Didn't breathe. Just stared at the door as if my fear alone could hold it shut. But the knock didn't come again. And eventually, the night passed. By morning, I found the front door still locked. Everything as it had been, but scratched into the wood, barely visible, were the same words from the ranger's shack. "Don't run. He follows." I've since tried leaving town. Got in my car. Drove for hours. Stayed at a friend's place 2 cities away. But every night, no matter where I go, at 2:14 a.m., I hear those footsteps. He's not in the woods anymore. He's with me now. I didn't jog anymore. I barely stepped outside. But none of it mattered. I had fled the woods. Abandoned my morning routine. Changed cities. Changed my number. Yet every night, exactly at 2:14 a.m., he came back. Sometimes, it was footsteps on gravel. Other nights, just a sensation of being watched, like invisible eyes brushing my spine. I once tried to record it. Set up my phone, hit record, and let it sit by the window. The next morning, the footage was corrupted, just static, until the last 3 seconds, when a faint whisper bled through the white noise. "You shouldn't have looked." I played it over and over again. The voice was wrong, garbled, layered, like multiple mouths trying to speak in unison. It chilled me down to the marrow. And still, I didn't leave the apartment. I couldn't, not because I was afraid to go out, but because I was terrified of what would follow me back in. I thought I'd hit rock bottom. But then something changed. Something got worse. It was a Wednesday when I found the leaves. Dead ones, brown curled, crumbling at the edges, lying in a neat little pile on my kitchen floor. My doors had been locked, no windows open, and I don't own any plants. But there they were, damp too, like they'd just fallen from a tree in the rain. I swept them up, tried to forget about it. Until the next day, when I woke up with one tucked under my pillow. I checked every corner of the apartment. Cabinets, closets, even the vent grates. Nothing. No sign of intrusion. No footprints. No broken locks. But that night, at exactly 2:14 a.m., I woke up to a new sound. Whispers. Not from outside. Inside. They came from the vents. A low, almost playful murmur. Too faint to make out words, but full of rhythm, like a chant. I turned on every light. Sat in the middle of the floor with my flashlight and a kitchen knife. Trembling. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was trying to speak. I needed help. Desperate. I reached out to a paranormal investigator I found online. Some guy named Ezra who ran a blog called Shadow Logic. He lived a few towns over and had posted about entities tied to places or people. I didn't care how ridiculous it sounded. I needed someone to listen. He arrived 2 days later. Looked like the type who'd be laughed off a college campus. Dusty trench coat, wire-rimmed glasses, and a backpack full of antique-looking gadgets. I told him everything. The woods, the footsteps, the figure, the messages, the leaves. He listened, silent, until I mentioned the phrase carved into my door. Don't run. He follows. That made him go still. Have you ever heard of the Hollowed One? He asked. I shook my head. Ezra explained in slow, careful words, as if afraid saying too much might summon something. It's a folklore entity, not well documented. Mostly oral legends passed around by old hikers, retired rangers, and people who swear they saw something in deep woods. They say it's not a ghost, not a demon, something older, something that binds itself to a moment of fear. I felt a chill creep across my neck. What do you mean, binds? Once you acknowledge it, truly see it, it sees you, and once it sees you, it stays. I laughed, but it came out brittle. So what? It just follows people around forever? Ezra didn't laugh back. They say it waits, feeds off your fear, grows stronger the longer you deny it. The more you run, the more power it gains. And eventually, when it's strong enough, he trailed off. When what? It replaces you. That word hit like a slap. Replaces me? Not physically, spiritually. It unthreads your identity, erodes your sense of reality. Your face becomes blurry in mirrors. Your voice echoes wrong. People forget you ever existed. Like something else took your place, wear your skin. I sat in silence, the room suddenly feeling too small. Ezra walked the apartment with his equipment, an EMF reader, some dowsing rods, a jar of salt. He muttered Latin prayers I couldn't understand. Then he stopped cold near the window. Did you hear that? I hadn't. He turned on a handheld recorder and hit playback. There was again the whisper, only this time it was louder. He's inside. Ezra stepped back, eyes wide. You need to leave. I can't. I've tried. Then we burned something of his. A totem. Anything he's left behind. That's when I remembered the leaves. I brought out the ones I hadn't thrown away yet. Ezra made a circle of salt on the tile floor, placed the leaves in the center, and lit them with a match. The flame sputtered unnaturally. No smoke, no scent, just quiet crackling. Then every light in the apartment went out. Complete blackness. Silence. Until, crash, something hit the front door. Hard. Then a dragging sound. Slow. Deliberate. Like claws scraping across wood. Ezra pulled me behind him, holding a talisman I didn't recognize. He began to chant, louder this time, his voice steady but strained. The crashing stopped, but from a hallway, we heard it, a whisper, closer than ever before. He burns my name. The temperature dropped. Frost crept across the window panes. My breath came out in clouds. Ezra threw a second powder into the fire. It flared blue for a moment, then snapped out completely. Darkness again, but this time, silence. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Ezra. By morning, everything looked normal. The lights worked. The heat returned. No scratches on the door. But something still hung in the air, like static waiting to crackle. Ezra packed up and said he'd be in touch. He warned me not to ignore any further signs, not to engage, but not to deny either. You need to understand something, he said as he left. You didn't just see it. What do you mean? He looked over his shoulder. You heard it whisper. That means it's begun the next phase. I shut the door after him, pulse still thumping in my ears. I thought things had hit their peak, but they hadn't that night. I looked in the mirror, and my reflection blinked 2 seconds later than I did. I didn't scream when my reflection blinked after me. 2 long, unsettling seconds later, I didn't scream. I simply stared, waiting, hoping maybe my eyes had played tricks on me. Maybe the lighting was off. Maybe I was tired. But then it smiled. Not a grin, not even a smirk. Just the subtlest twitch of the lips, enough to show that it was aware of me, and that it wasn't me. I stumbled backward, knocking over the bathroom trash bin. My heart slammed against my ribs. When I dared to look again, the reflection had reset, perfectly mimicking my fear. But I knew what I saw. Ezra's words came flooding back. It replaces you slowly. I locked the bathroom door, as if that would help, sat on the floor with my back pressed against it, listening to the silence of my apartment. Only, it wasn't really silent. There was a ticking noise. Not a clock, more organic, like wet fingers snapping in a pattern behind the walls. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. At 2:14 a.m. sharp, the shadows in my room twitched. That's the only way to describe it. They shifted like something was crawling behind them. Something thin and long and twitchy. And then I heard it, not from the vents this time, from under the bed, a whisper, dry, croaking. Look underneath. You left yourself there. I bolted out of bed and turned on every light, searched under the bed with a flashlight. Nothing, but the carpet smelled like earth, like the woods, like wet soil and rotting bark. He was bringing the forest here. I called Ezra again the next morning. He didn't pick up. I left voicemails, texts, even tried emailing. No response. I searched his blog. The page was gone. Not down for maintenance. Not error 404. Just vanished, like it had never existed. When I searched his name on Google, nothing came up. Not a trace. No blog posts, no forum replies, not even his weird YouTube channel. Ezra had been erased. The hollowed one was erasing everything. That's when I knew I couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. I grabbed a duffel bag and stuffed it with clothes, my phone charger, my passport, and some cash. I had no destination, just a primal instinct screaming, run. The hallway outside my apartment was dimmer than usual, like the bulbs had all dimmed at once. The air was heavy, full of static. As I reached the stairwell, I felt it again, that weight on the back of my neck, the sense of being watched by something just out of sight. On the first floor, the lobby lights flickered, and I saw him, for the first time since the woods, standing on the sidewalk across the street. He was tall, too tall. His limbs were slightly wrong, elbows bent the wrong way, fingers too long, neck too still. His face was a void, just a blur of shifting features like fog caught in human shape. He didn't move. He just stood there, head tilted slightly, as if waiting for something. I ran back inside. I didn't care if it made me a coward. I knew the rules now. If I ran, he followed. I slammed the apartment door shut, locked every bolt, shoved a chair under the knob. Then something even worse happened. I forgot my own name. It hit me like a wave, just gone, erased. I looked at my ID and stared at the name like it belonged to a stranger. It was only when I spoke it aloud, mouthed it over and over again, that it came back. But it was slippery now, fragile, like a thread being unraveled one strand at a time. The hollowed one wasn't just watching. He was dismantling me, piece by piece. That night, I decided to try something different. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't hide. I would confront him. Maybe that was dumb. Maybe it was suicidal. But I couldn't keep living like this, half present, eroding by the day. So I waited. At 2:14 a.m., I turned off all the lights, sat cross-legged in the center of the living room, and I whispered, "I see you." Silence. Then a breath, but not mine. A cold draft swept through the room. The walls creaked. The television turned on by itself, just static, but I could feel him watching from it, like his presence was sitting right in the flickering light. "You took Ezra," I said aloud. "You tried to take me, but I'm still here." The static pulsed. For a moment, I thought I saw something in it, a face made of snow, shifting every second. Eyes that didn't blink, only burned. Then the TV exploded. Just boom. Sparks, glass, smoke. I fell backward, shielding my face. When I looked up again, the figure was in the room, standing in the corner, not moving. But this time, I could feel it pulsing, like something was leaking through the seams of reality. And then a voice, not from him, from inside me. "You invited him." I stood slowly, skin crawling. I didn't know what to do, what to say. Then I heard a knock at the door. 3 slow taps. I turned, heart thudding. Another knock, slower this time. I crept toward the door, pressed my eye to the peephole, and saw myself, standing there, smiling. But the eyes weren't mine. They were hollow. I didn't open the door. I couldn't, even though my hand hovered over the handle. Even though some part of me, some broken, bewitched, curious part, wanted to, the version of me standing outside the peephole didn't move. It just smiled, patient, hollow, as if it knew I'd given eventually. But I didn't. Instead, I backed away, whispering to myself, "This isn't real. This isn't happening. It can't be real." The lights began to dim. Not flicker, dim, like the energy in the apartment was being drained, siphoned into the void that wore my face. And then came the whisper again, but not from outside. This time, it came from inside my head. You've been out there longer than you think. My knees gave out. I sank to the floor, hands trembling, cold sweat dripping down my spine. What did that mean? Out where? The woods? The woods. It hit me all at once, like a floodgate opened inside my brain. The night I jogged into the forest, I had blacked out, only for a second. I thought, but what if it wasn't a second? What if it had been days? Weeks? What if I never left? What if I was still lying in those woods, curled up under the brush while this thing, this hollow version of me, had taken my place? The doorbell rang. Not a buzz, not a ding, a chime, low, resonant, and somehow ancient. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door. Again, sat in front of the mirror. Again, only this time, my reflection was already waiting. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. It just stared at me, mocking. And then it spoke. You were easier to hollow than most, it said, voice like dry leaves scraping glass. Your mind cracked so beautifully. My stomach turned. What do you want from me? I already have you, it replied. The rest is just ceremony. Ceremony? I suddenly remembered the pattern of tree markings in the forest, the unnatural silence, the trail that didn't loop back, the whispers in the bark. It wasn't just a random place. It was a threshold, a portal where something ancient slipped through, something that couldn't live in our world without a shell, and I had given it mine, willingly, by crossing the trailhead after dark, by ignoring the signs, by listening. I was the ritual, the door, the sacrifice. The reflection raised a hand. So did I, but when I stopped moving, it didn't. It kept raising its hand, and then it pressed against the glass. The surface rippled, like water, and I saw it on the other side, the hollowed one, its real form, towering, shadowy, shapeless but horribly aware, thousands of writhing arms. No eyes, no mouth, just intent. The reflection whispered, you opened the gate. Now you must be the key. And then it lunged. The mirror shattered, glass slicing across my arms and face as I scrambled backward. Blood dripped down my wrists. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Somehow, I knew that pain, real pain, was an anchor. It meant I was still here. Still me, bleeding, shaking. I crawled to my bedroom and tore open the bottom drawer. Inside, my old hiking pack. Inside that, a lighter, a flask of vodka, and the battered copy of Ezra's printouts I had saved, just in case. One paragraph stood out, burned into my brain from earlier. If the hollowed one marks you, the only way to escape is to sever the echo it leaves behind. Fire binds, blood seals, memory breaks. I didn't understand it before. Now I did. The echo was a version of me it created. I had to burn it, or burn myself. So I made a plan. I cleaned the cuts, bandaged my hands, packed the vodka, the lighter, and the copy of Ezra's final blog post. And I went back to the woods, back to the trail, back to the place it all started. The moon was gone, hidden behind clouds, like even it didn't want to witness what I was about to do. As I stepped onto the trail, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. The air thickened. The trees whispered my name. I didn't run. I walked, every footstep echoing like a drumbeat in a ritual only I could hear. It didn't take long to find the spot. The tree with the claw-like branches. The dirt with the half-dug pit. My flashlight flickered once, then died. That's when I saw it. Me, standing at the edge of the clearing. No smile now, just waiting. And this time it wasn't alone. All around it, figures, dozens, hundreds, all hollow, all borrowed faces, all slightly wrong. Victims, like me, lost souls who traded their reflections for whispers in the dark. I opened the flask and poured the vodka in a ring around me, struck the lighter. A flame sparked. The wind howled. And then I spoke the words from Ezra's final post. I am not your vessel. I am not your echo. This mind is closed. This soul is sealed. The figures screamed. The trees screamed. The hollowed one, my reflection, rushed forward, skin peeling away in strips of shadow. I dropped the match. The circle ignited. The world turned white hot. Pain exploded through every cell in my body. I thought I was dying, but I wasn't. I was burning it away. The reflection clawed at the fire, trying to reach me. Its face melted into nothing. Its limbs stretched and twisted and finally burst. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, the clearing was empty. No figures. No echoes. Just ash. And me. Still me. It's been 3 weeks since that night. The whispering stopped. The mirror is just a mirror again. My name is solid in my mind. But I don't jog anymore. Not after dark. Not in the woods. Because sometimes, just sometimes, when I walk past glass, I swear I see my reflection blink a little too late.